They say art doesn't need perfect conditions to move you. Sometimes the great sky above a tiny Catalan village is exactly the right frame for something extraordinary. Hi everyone, I'm Anastasia, and today I'm taking you to a place that most people have never heard of. A little village of just a few hundred souls somewhere between Llerida and the horizon and the fields that once a year turns itself into an open-air museum. Welcome to Penelles. Welcome to the Gargar Festival. Penelles is a small village in Noguera in the province of Llerida. One of those places that maps seem to forget, but for 3 days every May it becomes something else entirely. The Gargar Festival de Murals y de Art Rural was born in 2016 from a beautiful idea to bring street art into rural world. Not just as decoration, but as a way of giving life back to a village, of making people proud of where they live. I turned a corner and I found something I was absolutely not expecting. Ta-da! Tractors! Old, magnificent, ancient tractors, not just murals. An exhibition of farming machinery, some of them decades and decades old, standing right there in the middle of the festival, and I stopped. Because you might think, Anastasia, what do tractors have to do with street art? Well, this is exactly the point of the Gargar Festival. It has never been only about the murals. It has always been about the village, about rural life, about remembering that this land was once worked by hand, by people whose names we have forgotten, by whose marks are still here. Those tractors standing beside those murals, it was one of those quietly poetic images of my day, old iron beside fresh paint, the past and the present side by side. It was gorgeous, wasn't it? Now the murals. So this year, 2026, was the 11th edition. 11 years of artists, local and international, arriving here with their paints, their letters and their imaginations. And each year they leave behind something permanent, something that stays on the walls long after the festival ends. When I arrived on the 1st of May, with great clouds hanging low over the fields of Llerida, I had no idea what was waiting for me, to tell the truth. But you know what I saw? The village was already alive. Despite the rain, and yes, it was genuinely raining, people were walking, stopping, tilting their heads back to look up at the walls, and everywhere I looked, there was color. Wow, just look at this! 900 square meters of painted walls. That is the scale of what the Gargar festivals create. Not canvases on a gallery wall, not screens in a museum, real walls. The side of someone's house, the wall of a barn, the back of a building where an old woman once hung her laundry. And the artists were still working right in front of us. Brushes moving, spray cans hissing, scaffolding creaking in the wind. One of them, a young woman, had previously attended as a student years ago, watching the master's work. And this year she was selected. She was the one on the scaffolding. By the way, apart from the cool murals, this village boasts lots of ancient elements like arches, fontaine, handles. So neat, so cute. Just, tracing back to those glorious times when the whole village was breathing its medieval air. There is something deeply moving about that, isn't there? The cycle of inspiration, the way art passes from hand to hand, from city to village, from teacher to student. You can see those small drawings created by small kids and murals like these, enormous like this Alice in the Wonderland fragment, which is really enormous and with a lot of shades and tones, and the remnants of the old medieval culture. You can breathe this pure air of countryside. Look at those masterpieces. Okay, right now it's high time for us to explore the murals properly, because each one tells a completely different story. Some are hyper-realistic, faces so detailed you feel like you could reach out and touch the eyelashes. Others are abstract, swirling colors that don't represent anything specific but make you feel something you can't name. This is the hallmark of great art, isn't it? Not what it shows you, but it makes you feel what makes you feel. What I love about the Gargar Festival is that this is not art for galleries. It is not art behind velvet robes, it's art that lives with the people. The grandmother who opens her shutters every morning now looks out onto a mural. The children who play in the street grow up surrounded by beauty that belongs to them. That, to me, is pure magic. In this tiny village, I just reconnected with nature, and I realized that this is where I really enjoy being next to the nature, but at the same time next to the art that is created by the nicest humans' instincts. If you're enjoying this little escape with me, please consider subscribing to this channel. There are more hidden corners of Catalonia waiting for us, and I don't want you to miss a single one. The murals from past editions are still here too, by the way. You can see here it's something looking like Dali's style. Walking through Penelles is like reading a 10-year diary of creativity. Some a little weathered by time and sun and Catalan rain, but somehow that only makes them more beautiful, like old photographs, like memories, like these beautiful red roses. The Gargar Festival is not only art, it is music, it is comedy, it is food trucks and craft beer and the smell of something warm being cooked somewhere nearby. It is neighbors from Penelles sitting on plastic chairs watching visitors photograph their walls with expressions of quiet, unmistakable pride. And that, for me, was the most beautiful thing about the whole day. even in the rain. Especially in the rain, there was this feeling of belonging. A Ukrainian girl, an immigrant standing in a tiny village in the province of Llerida with the same flat fields like in my homeland. In the south of Ukraine we had a lot of tractors, a lot of corn, wheat, and endless fields, sheltering under an umbrella, looking up at a mural in the drizzle, and feeling completely at home. Even the smell, this farms smell, everything looked so familiar. Art does that. It crosses every border, it speaks every language, and when it lives on the walls of a real community, a living, breathing village that needs it and chose it, it becomes something even more powerful. It becomes a deep tissue massage for the soul. Friends, little by little our exciting journey is coming to its end. Thank you for exploring the Gargar Festival in Penelles with me today. If you enjoyed this little escape, please subscribe to see more of my life here in Spain. There are also so many more stories like this one. Hidden festivals, forgotten villages, walls that have things to say, beaches, trails. Now I want to hear from you. Would you ever visit an art festival like this in a rural village? Or do you prefer the big city art scene? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one. Adios. Love you all. Bye.